most of us did a talk earlier this morning out in Elks Park in front of a crowd that had not seen the movie. So I feel like this weight is off all of our shoulders because you all have seen this movie. We actually can talk about things in a little bit more detail. Trey, I want to ask you a version of a question that I asked you earlier today. Where did you work up the nerve? There's so much that's daring about this movie. First and foremost, the way that you structured it in these two beautiful and distinct but complementary halves. Where did you work up the nerve to structure it this way? And was there anything else in the script process that felt to you as daring as that decision did?
Good question. I don't know. I think I was saying before too. I felt a little sad after my last movie, and I don't know, confused, and kind of wanted to put everything I had into something. And this movie had been brewing for so long, and the structure was just a part of that, you know. So it wasn't like I felt like I was making a bold choice or anything, like especially in the writing, because it was just organic and what it was always meant to be. And ultimately too, I mean, I love seeing a movie where it feels like I'm seeing something I haven't seen before. I can't claim that for this, but like that's what I'm always striving for, you know. So like it's less, I don't know, it's not about making a bold, scary choice or anything. It's just like trying to do what feels right.
Sterling, I was surprised to learn when we talked earlier that this was not a movie you made on a hiatus from This Is Us. You made this concurrently while filming This Is Us in LA, in One Hollywood, and this in Hollywood, Florida. How hard was it to put it all together, schedule it, and were you actually looking to do something while you were filming the show, or was this something you just found and you couldn't turn it down and that's just the way it was?
Man, that's a lot. Okay. So no, you're not actively like looking to like do one job. Like, yeah, I should do another job because I'm doing this job. But I read the script, and first I was a little petrified because I told Trey, I said, like, you've written a really beautiful story, but I was like wondering if I could watch a film in which a young black man, you know, takes another person's life in the middle of the film and still continue on. And so Trey and I talked about like how that would be structured and whatnot, and if I would be comfortable with it. And I just realized that like this sort of reticence that I had was sort of the reason why I should do it. And I had this conversation with Kelvin too. I was like, hey now, young brother, you know, once this shit goes out into the world, you know, I know you're making a piece of art, but this kind of scary, right? He's like, it is scary, but it's a good role, right? And I said, yeah. He said, well, should I not do it just because I'm black? And I was like, oh shit, bro, you just hit me with something. And so I felt like this real strong sense of like protection. And I felt like the dad in the film has this desire to protect his family. And sometimes, you know, he may hold on too tight or take the air out of the room because he's had a lot that's transpired, you know. He's lost a wife and had to raise children on his own for a while until he found his wife. And so they're trying to find a way to make it work. And you have this desire to arm your children for how hard the world can be, especially your young black boys. And the lesson that I think he learns in the course of the film is that there is as much strength in vulnerability as there is in this armor. And when I sort of just put it all together, I was like, well, I gotta do it. I gotta try to make it happen. So I talked to the producers of This Is Us, and they were like, this shit's gonna be kind of crazy. And so we would shoot Monday through Friday, and Waves 824 like worked it out so that we would shoot on the weekend. So I like shoot the TV show, and then come shoot the weekend on the movie, and then go back and shoot the TV show. And yo, shit was crazy, bro. Like, it was crazy, but every time I got to Florida, it was like, with Renee, with Kelvin, with Taylor, I was like, everybody was so game to play. And the story was so important to everyone that it was easy to sort of just drop in and tell that story, so.
Kelvin, you're the one person in the cast who has worked with Trey before. You were in It Comes at Night. You were excited to work with him again. But what's your recollection of these conversations that you were having with Sterling? Did you have hesitation along the same lines as he was talking? And if so, how did you get over that?
Yeah, I was terrified. I was scared, but honestly, I really wasn't. I remember reading the script and I was like, this is so beautiful, and this is so. I was like, my brother Trey, who I met years ago, who has kind of adopted me as a little kid who just, my first movie was Big Comes at Night. And I was like, he trusts me, he kind of sees me, we had all these beautiful conversations about, his life and my life and, and what the story would be like. And I was like, he really took the time to ask the right questions about what it might be like as a young black man. And how do we infuse that into the story if I'm gonna play this part? And so I never was afraid because I knew he had a respect and a love for me. So with that in mind, talking to Sterling, I was like, listen, man, I know.
I said, I hear you, young brother. I hear you.
I know, but we never get this opportunity. So at the end of the day, I was like, why should we be afraid of showing our full humanity? We're not saints or sinners. We're human beings, and ultimately we're dehumanizing ourselves if we don't give ourselves the opportunity just to be who we are. So yeah, I was scared, but I wasn't scared. I'm human.
Renee, you have such powerful scenes, particularly near the end. I would imagine your theater background, you are a Tony winner after all, came in handy there. What's your recollection of how you prepared for some of the really intense scenes, particularly the ones with you and Sterling?
I found myself, well, I did it because it's so rare. I find I've never actually played a mother before. I am a mother of young children, but I always kind of shy away from those roles because it's so rare that I think a filmmaker, when the film is about older kids, develops those characters and takes the time to tell their reaction to what's going on. That and the fact that I would get to work with him, Sterling, is what brought me to do this. And I remember one moment before we shot, I think, the scene in the bedroom, and we were like kind of getting ready. They were getting ready, and I just remember being like, like really giddy. I found myself, and he's like, "What's wrong with you?" Wow. But that's how it felt to shoot this film. It's this really very special way that Trey works. It does feel a little bit like little vignettes of a play. Because we're not taking a lot of time for specific coverage, and there's so much freedom that he gives us to really explore a moment, and whatever comes up it's always right. I mean, I guess you could always cut it later. And I think when I was watching it right now, I was remembering. I don't feel like I take a tremendous amount of credit for emotion in this film because. Sometimes it's just there waiting for you. I mean, I was surprised myself at the reaction I had in the moments that were created, that he created. It just, sometimes it's just like landmines that are already there and you just get to walk in and you have to just kind of ride the waves. I'm sorry. So that was the way I prepared for it, but it was an honor to do, and I'm just so proud to be standing here with all of you.
Taylor, I just loved seeing how your character blossoms in that second half of the film. I'm curious what the conversations were with you and Trey as far as how your performance might have been different from the scenes that you did in the first half of the film and the scenes that you did in the second half, where you are kind of more off in the fringes, in the margins in the first half and then out in the forefront in the second. And did you guys film it kind of one half at a time, or were you doing first half stuff and second half stuff like on the same day?
Sorry, it's so weird to hear your voice. We shot everything. I started filming with Lucas on the road trip, so everything kind of happened backwards. And some of the family stuff that we did was towards the end. Actually, the first day was with us in the diner, right? Okay, so that's the truth. But no, I mean, what's so great about Trey, when we first started working together, when I got the part, I was sending him so many texts just about everything that I thought about her. And he was like, great. He just didn't really have anything to say back. And I thought, oh, this is lonely a little bit, but I wonder why this is interesting. And I came to the conclusion, maybe I didn't even, it just felt, I realized that he was allowing me to have her, and he wasn't controlling any of it. And it's really rare to get as an actor, to have a director who really trusts you and says, here it is, it was mine, it's yours, play. And that's what it was with Trey. He just let me do my own thing. He wasn't watching me in the process. He let me have my own process. And I don't think it would have been the film that it is if he hadn't done that for all of us. I'm speaking for everybody, but I think, yeah.
Thank you.
So, yeah, I don't know. That's just kind of the type of director he is. He's that good, I think, yeah.
I'm so happy to see you. We're all happy you're okay. That you're here. I mean, the stuff that you have, the scenes that you have in the garage and in the truck, it's the toughest stuff to watch. And we talked about this earlier, but can you tell the audience a little bit about what it was like in that, especially the garage scene, and how you were able to kind of pull yourself together? What did you choose to do, after a particularly tough take of that scene?
Well, the garage scene in particular was the hardest scene for both Kelvin and I think everybody that was there. As Taylor said, Trey just kind of gave Kelvin and I the space to find it. And Kelvin and I we went there with that scene, and we committed, and we wanted to tell that truth for Trey and for the film. And so after that scene, Kelvin, I think, ran down the street kind of hysterically, and I fell on the floor, and Taylor was there, and she just was holding me. And it was really hard because it was just really a special experience. I'm really grateful for it, and it helped me to heal some parts of myself, and I'm so grateful to you for that.
It's fine. And I love this friendship that I've been witnessing all day between the two of you. It's great. Lucas, my question...
It's just me now. Give it to me.
My question for you is the most basic, simple one, because you just saw this movie for the first time.
Talk to me.
And you guys wrapped exactly 1 year ago yesterday. I just want to know, what's your reaction
Wait, 1 year ago yesterday?
Yeah. I just want to know what your reaction to the finished product was when you think about it compared to the experience.
I'm so grateful to be asked this question. I was literally watching it, and halfway through the movie, I pictured myself up here just being like, this is one of the best movies I've ever seen. And it really God. I've never had this experience watching a movie that I've been in and felt like I brought a notebook to this movie so that I could write all the moments of mine that I hated. And I did not touch the notebook. I didn't even bring it out. And it was the easiest time I've ever had watching myself in my entire fucking life. I'm floored. I'm totally floored. I don't know. It's a weird thing. Usually when I get up here, I get scared to talk, but when I see something like that, it's almost like there's nothing to worry about. In a way, it's like I get up here. Art like that, it takes away a kind of fear in a way. It takes away something in my life that I don't need. Life is just more than whatever stupid fear you have about yourself and what could go wrong when I step up here, what could go right. It's not about that. It's just, oh God, that was so good.
I liked it too. Let me end with two real quick things that I learned today. Sterling, can you tell the audience a little bit about reading this script for the first time and what Trey did that was kind of different from a typical reading of a script experience?
Yeah, so you didn't read it like a hard copy. It's on the computer, and he has music cues that go along with the script. So as you're reading a scene, there's a song that coincides with the scene. What did I just say? There's a song that coincides with the scene. So you're like reading it and listening to how he has it scored in his head at the same time. And you get sort of swept up in the claustrophobic sort of kinetic energy of the first half of the movie, you know, and then the second half, it's much more languid, and you feel this breath that is so desired, because like for the first half of the movie, it's like you're going up this roller coaster, you just wait, and it just, and then you kind of get a chance to breathe a little bit, and it was, I've never encountered that before, and it was sort of magical because you really had a clear vision, and also he has colors on the pages, right? So you like seeing these colors and hearing this music and reading these words and having, like the only thing you missed was like scratch and sniff, like so you could like smell the seesaw of the waves as it went on. That's the next one. But yeah, it was awesome.
And then I want to end with
And
just
you wrote in colors and fonts and sometimes.
I said
Oh, you
colors.
said that?
I said colors.
Fuck me.
fuck. And then just to end with a little bit of a dorky movie question. As Trey, as you know from this morning, I'm fascinated by the way the camera moves in this movie. From the very first scene of Kelvin and Alexa in the car, where the camera goes 360 and you don't see anybody, and you're like, how the heck did he do this? What were you excited to do with camera work that you hadn't seen before in a film?
Well, the camera work always, I hope, the purpose of it is to just get you closer to the characters. So like for the first half, all the camera work is just hopefully echoing their state of minds. For the first half, it's Taylor. For the second half, for the first half, it's Tyler. For the second half, it's Emily. You know, I think at that age and some of the scenes and themes and stuff we're dealing with the movie, hopefully can give you permission to go far with that. And like, yeah, some of the funnest stuff to me was like some of this 360 car stuff we were doing. And yeah, I don't know if other movies have, like there's an amazing long take in Children of Men where they do this, but they built a whole rig on top of the car. And like we just broke down an Alexa Mini and put it on a slider. And it was me hiding down in the back seat, and the grip was pushing and moving the slider. And then Drew, our incredible DP, was in the other car behind the truck operating the camera movement. But then, like, we have all this fancy stuff, but we never, like, this movie lives and dies by these incredible actors and the performances, and they're the heart and soul. So, like, we never want to get in the way. So anything we were doing like that was first came to actors, and then we'd just dance with them and figure out their natural demeanor and flow, and then, yeah.
Well, you guys aced it. I can't thank you enough for being here. Thank you all for sticking around. You guys, and congratulations to you all.
Thank you.
Good night, everybody. Thank you so much.